I'm feeling it now!
Now, whether you're a longtime viewer of this channel or this is your first video, you're likely familiar with the suffix punk in one way or another. Cyberpunk, NASA punk, steampunk, atomic punk, and all the rest. But today, I welcome all you beautiful ladies and animals as I delve, more properly this time, into the lands and worlds of my personal favorite and perhaps the best punk subgenre, Dieselpunk. Now yes, I made a video very similar to this exactly 1 year ago, and yes, some of the information will be the same, obviously, but see, in the last year of me making content on YouTube, delving into each and every one of the other punk subgenres, my views have kind of shifted. My brain expanded and my schlong hardened. So come along, dear viewer, as I explain to you what Dieselpunk is, where you can find it, and why I love it and why it's so near and dear to my heart. Now, Dieselpunk is fairly self-explanatory. Unlike the soul-searching and degradation of art I had to put forth in the NASA Punk video, it's very much exactly as you'd expect. A world dependent on fuel, hard fuel for even harder machines, chunky gods engineered for all manner of tasks from siege warfare to the common policeman. In the same vein as Cyberpunk with Night City, Atomic Punk and Fallout, or Solar Punk and that one incredible ad for yogurt, Dieselpunk wears its themes and aesthetics on its chest. Gears of War with their iconic Lancer rifle, a machine gun with a smoke-spewing chainsaw glued to the front end. Wolfenstein, where a lone soldier literally takes on cybernetic globalized Reich. And probably one of the longest-standing examples, Mad Max, where gods gorge themselves on gasoline and the skies are torched by the flame spewers of Junktown. But how do you define Dieselpunk as a genre? Technically, if you go by the nerdy, intellectual standards, Dieselpunk comes in one of two main categories. Well, three if we stretch it a little. Peercraft, the first as coined for piecraft, sees a dystopian future where technology and culture becomes reliant on diesel-based technologies. Extrapolating this to examples like Mad Max, we see a world where the entire human race is dependent on their cars and running engines to keep going forward for survival. Or a world where constant global warfare slows the evolution of human society. Essentially, Warhammer 40k would like a word.
Brother, why have our guns not changed in 10,000 years? You did this joke already. No reruns!
But that aside, the second main form of Dieselpunk is known as Otesian, named after Nick Ottens, and is a more optimistic view of the world. One where war is not a hindrance on the development of the world and humanity can still reach a stage of utopia through our technologies. This is where false utopias like Helldivers find their footing. Still advancing, just maybe not for the most noble reasons. Now yes, aesthetically Helldivers is not exactly Dieselpunk, but from a stage perspective, it is. The kind of world where the military-industrial complex and industry in general flourish, where companies and states raise their homelands in turn for engineering and advancement, where human rights are thrown to the side in return for hard-fisted control and order. Oh shit. And last but not least, nor really in the end, is the offshoot of Dieselpunk known as Decopunk. Instead of focusing on the industrial eras just during and after the World Wars, it focuses in on the stylings of the 1920s, and as you might expect, being so close to the Depression and Black Tuesday, points in on the flaws of capitalism in the same vein as cyber and solar punk. Obvious if you've played BioShock, which takes this idea and just sort of runs with it. But an important thing to keep in mind with all of these descriptions is that they aren't black and white. This goes against the whole of all the punk subgenres. Take BioShock. Yes, it's decopunk. It's also a little biopunk. And go far enough with it and you have steampunk. Or take Warhammer. Yeah, the orcs are Dieselpunk, and even some facets of the Imperium fit into the genre too, but the Tyranids are biopunk, the Mechanikists are cyber. In Wolfenstein, obviously the whole world is Dieselpunk, and then you go to the moon and boom, NASA punk, or cassette retrofuturism.
Well,
I'm on the motherfucking moon.
No single genre is separated entirely from the others. They are never mutually exclusive. So instead, you look to the major points in any setting, and that ties you into where the root might be. As the names imply, there is a technology that defines the culture of the setting, and a level of rebellion against the status quo, the systems. That makes the punk half of the title. For Cyberpunk, it's a focus on implants and corporations. The culture is defined by this cybernetic technology that turns random gonks into chromed out cyborgs. Then there's the oppressive corporations who see people as products. So you have the anarchists like Johnny Silverhand who rebel. In Dieselpunk, you have the tech. Massive industrial machines that choke the sky and embolden the most aggressive of leaders based on the strengths of this newfound technology. I mean, one of the characters in Gears of War is literally named after a fascist poet. And with that same focus on mankind beginning to take over the world with powers it is barely beginning to understand, the punk is not so much a rebellion from a singular group like in Cyberpunk, but more the rebellion of change. In Gears of War, emulsion is discovered, a special, amazing fuel source. Once it's refined and sparks a gold rush, the world responds in kind. Forces across the globe rapidly militarize until they are butting heads to the point of inevitable conflict. Conflict that goes on for so long that the memories of what began the war are barely remembered in their textbooks. In Mad Max, while we don't know the details, we know humanity rapidly escalated in the Industrial Age and were the architects of their own collapse. In the Wasteland, the world itself is a rebellious force, acting like a penance to punish mankind for its transgressions. Sometimes it is more straightforward, like in Wolfenstein, with straight-up Nazis taking over the world and the rebellious force being you, murdering, butchering, and burning Nazis in pretty much every way imaginable.
Yes?
Dank, dank,
Yes, out with it.
dank, dank.
My God. Was that alright? No, that was terrible. You're butchering my beautiful language. It's Danke schön, verdammt. Say it.
But in most cases, we see there is some reflection of the world in the way that it responds after the hyper-industrialization of the Diesel Age. As we see the obvious inspiration from the real world as our glaciers begin to melt after millions of cubic tons of gas has been spewed into the air for centuries now. Dieselpunk's punk is derived from industry, how that industry shapes society, how it empowers the worst of us and allows the best of us to merely survive. The effect that industry has had on the world and the people within it. To me, the best examples of Dieselpunk work to expose totalitarian, authoritarian ideologies to the extreme. In Cyberpunk, you have unchecked oligarchs and a totally unregulated capitalist system to the point that corporations own your arms, your legs, your home, and your life. In Dieselpunk, the greatest threat to freedom is these groups that aspire to be gods, whether literally or figuratively, in their own command. You have Niles in Gears of War, who literally plays God, trying to create his own army of supermen, the next evolution in humanity's life cycle. Instead, he contributes to the near extinction of the world. And not just him, but other systemic leaders from Paddock who gloats about his exploits, killing scientists and torturing his enemies like it's something to be proud of. Or the more clinical systems of repression, with Prescott and the COG establishing state-sanctioned breeding farms. Yes, it's as bad as it sounds. I made a whole other video about it. You have the 1920s world, created by Jacob Rosalski, used in the Scythe board game in an Iron Harvest. Somewhat a blend of Wolfenstein and Titanfall, as the early 20th century is ravaged by war, emboldened by massive machines of war. Wolfenstein has, well, the link between Nazism and playing God is wide open. They're basically the authors of modern eugenics with the whole proper Aryan thing that leads into Atlantis and a whole other rabbit hole. A title that's all over the place is the Leviathan books by Scott Westerfield. It's got steampunk technology, genetically modified soldiers in the vein of biopunk, and the 20th century aesthetics and culture befitting of Dieselpunk. Then there's some gray areas, like Warhammer and Trench Crusade, which while you may look at them on the surface, a lot of the Imperium of Man and the Templars are very much Dieselpunk aesthetically, with the whole clash and blending of traditionalist stylings and hyper-industrialized society. In Warhammer, you have Hitler Jesus who feeds his own people corpses, and in Trench Crusade, you have man-machine abominations that fight the forces of hell. Now yes, Warhammer doesn't slot one for one into Dieselpunk. It's just a great aesthetic to get you into other more niche titles, with the towering hive cities of the Imperium just being kind of peak Dieselpunk to me. An authoritarian fascist regime literally using human bodies as ammunition in the sake of a pointless goal. As for Trench Crusade, it's more along the lines of Demon Punk, which I talked about in this other video, with the Dieselpunk aesthetic. As the point was, these worlds never fit one for one with the description of the genre. It's like the old adage about porn, like you can never describe where the line between art and porn is, but you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's porn. Dieselpunk and a lot of the other punk subgenres kind of fit the same thing. And that's the thing about these genres, is that there's no rules, no story, at least a good story, is so simple or should be so simple that it fits neatly into a singular category. Now they can fit into broad categories like action adventure, puzzle, thriller, noir, etc., but a more concise thing just takes you down the road to redundancy. With Dieselpunk, all you really need is a totalitarian regimes, an aesthetic that pulls from the early 20th century, and a focus on industry. Then it's enough to at least skirt the lines of Dieselpunk, or at the very least, having all these puts you closer to Dieselpunk on the spectrum rather than not. That's why you could put Mad Max and Gears of War next to each other and call it Dieselpunk. Indiana Jones, 20th century, focus on technology interacting with the natural world in an occult setting. And the villains, Nazis. COD zombies. The undead Nazis count too. Doom? It's got a chainsaw. Although, like I said earlier, that's more Demon Punk. And then, of course, the most popular gas-based series of all time, Cars. Now you may be asking yourself at this point, why is Dieselpunk supposedly better than Cyberpunk? It's not. It's just funny to say that because a lot of really insecure people get really upset if you share an opinion about liking one genre over the other. I love all of these punk genres that I've covered. Diesel, Cyber, Atomic, Solarpunk, even NASA Punk. I just like Dieselpunk the best. The big, chunky machines, the clunking of steel and expulsion of smoke, the industry that ravages the world. It's just cool to me. A byproduct of being a big fan of Gears and Wolfenstein all my life. Plus, it's always a damn good time to brutalize Nazis. A year ago, there was an alarming number of people who were upset in my comments that I made fun of the Proud Boys, and now, the world's richest incel is dropping Sig Heils in front of the nation while literal Nazis are buying Super Bowl ads and marching in the streets, or at least trying to. So it's a little unfortunate to be a fan of these kinds of stories when they kind of feel more real than ever. But all in all, I believe that Dieselpunk is the best genre of punk, or at least it's my favorite, because these worlds of authoritarian fascist regimes choking the globe with atmospheres of burnt dinosaurs, it's just cool to me. The whole aesthetic background that ties it into the two world wars and the stories of these people fighting against the most disgusting forces of humanity that has ever been drummed up. Dieselpunk is the best punk, and you will never change my mind. Hello everybody, it's me, it's my face. We're done with the scripted bit. I just wanted to get a little bit more, I just wanted to appear as a little bit more authentic rather than just reading from a script. I really do love Dieselpunk as a genre. I love a lot of these literary adventures. I've always been a big fan of storytelling and telling a good story, and especially telling a story or being a part of a world or entering into a world that has something to say. It doesn't have to be anything that is going to completely rearrange the way I think about the world, but just having something to say at bare minimum. I enjoy way more than something that's just sort of entertaining. You know, this is why I kind of get attracted to certain games like the newer God of War reboots. People could have issue with the retcons or anything, or the direction of Kratos as a character. I will always love those games because it's got a lot of things to say about penance and kind of starting anew and family and how those generational bonds of trauma get handed down. Things like that. Dieselpunk normally has a lot to say when it's done well about oppression and what these totalitarian fascist regimes can do when they go unchecked, in the same way that Cyberpunk has a lot to say about unchecked capitalist oligarchs. And me always wanting something that has something more to say is part of the reason why I include stuff like making jokes about the world's richest incel, or the last time I made this video about the Proud Boys. The idea that art is inherently, or you want your art or your games to be unpolitical or to be removed entirely from politics, to me that's just fucking weak. I appreciate when it has something to say. Even if it's not something I agree with, I would rather it say something than say nothing and just keep me distracted for another 30 hours. Don't get me wrong, those games and stuff like that is still fun. I still play a fuckload of Marvel Rivals, but it's not going to leave a lasting, lifelong impact on me and how I go forward with stuff, how I write my own stuff, and everything else like that. But that's about it. That, and again, I just like when media or art or stories have something to say. That's why Lord of the Rings will always stick with me. It's generic. Well, it's generic by today's standards. It's fairly, simple. We think of it a lot of the times. It did set the groundwork for a lot of things, but like the core at the center of Lord of the Rings is, the whole point is to tell you that friendship and love will always beat out evil, which is, power of friendship. I get that it's kind of overplayed at this point, but it's just one of those things that sticks with me even to this day. On top of, Tolkien's incredible use of prose and kind of poetry interwoven in his storytelling. But that, and I just wanted to, sit here and preface why I continue, even though I know it's not the most popular stuff I do, or a lot of people don't really care about when I do political subjects or whatever on the channel. I'm still going to keep doing it because I think it still matters, and I think talking about it is always going to be important, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. But with all that out of the way, I just wanted to use the end of this video. It's been almost exactly a year since I've been making videos, literally one video a week. I've had an incredible time with it. All the videos I've made that have done exceedingly well, all the Warhammer stuff, all of the punk videos that do well. It's just blown my mind. It's kind of like to a scale that I don't think I'll ever be able to comprehend, and I'm like a small YouTube channel. Which is, it's going to date this, at least I hope it dates it sometime in the future, but it's hard to wrap my mind around, because, like, say my YouTube channel just recently crossed over 2 million views across the whole channel. 2 million people have sat down and listened to me yap about any number of things, most likely a Warhammer video, or maybe that original Dieselpunk video that came out exactly 1 year ago. 2 million views, 14,500 subscribers, and a handful of members and Patreon supporters. I don't know, I'm not good at this kind of thing, but I don't know how else to express my just extreme and sheer gratitude for the opportunity that this is kind of like given me. Obviously, I'm not at the point where I can really do anything with it, but just to the fact that it's like been shown to me that it's something that I would be capable of if I wanted to continue pursuing this, which, don't get me wrong, as long as it's still doing decently well, I plan to be doing it. We're doing Space Marines versus dinosaurs in 2 weeks from now. But I just wanted to say thank you so very, very much from like literally the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much if you've subscribed, if you've liked the video, if you've ever shared them around. I've seen a couple people post my videos to Reddit threads and stuff. Thank you very much. It's not something, I've never asked anyone. I don't want to like command an audience to do anything like that, but just the people who felt the need to go out and share it and like it and show the love. Thank you very, very much. I'll probably stop yapping now, but I just wanted to say thank you. I feel like I can never say it enough. Every time I cross a new milestone or something, I just feel like I can't ever say it enough. But yeah, thank you very much. As always, Colorful World, it's wrong side of the camera. Colorful World stuff, all of my merch stuff down below, still going to my local charity. This is the series that inspired it. So, you know, it's all still down there. We also have Pride stuff that gets, the proceeds for that get donated to the Trevor Project. But everything else, all of the Buster McTunder stuff, all the Colorful World stuff, that gets donated to my local food bank to help out people, you know, who need the extra assistance. That's about it. Just, you know, again, thank you to every single one of you who's clicked on a video, hit like, or even just sat down and watched it while you're eating cereal at your desk or something like that. Thank you so very much. And as always, stay cool, have fun, be awesome. Buster out.